In my next example, we witness that it's very easy to plunder the game at high level. Here, a position between Judith Polgar and Sweetler, and it's not surprising that we have an attacking position because Judith Polgar was well known as a very aggressive dynamic player. Here she is a rook down currently, but she causes a lot of threats. The rook on h8 is attacked, f7 is hanging with a mate, and also e5 is hanging. To solve all the issues with one move is hardly possible unless we have a check, and here therefore we have two moves to consider: queen c3 check or queen d4 check, because we need to first solve the problem about e5, as if he plays something like rook f8 immediately, then queen takes e5 is just finishing the game. So we have to decide between queen c3 and queen d4 check, and then followed by rook f8 to solve the issue. Now, once again, imagine you don't have much time on the clock and, well, you look for any kind of indications which may help you to choose rightly. Sometimes you're lucky and both moves work. Here in this example, I can tell you, not to upset you, you have to take the right decision, because if you don't, you will lose like Peter Sweetler did in this game. So what did we learn about tactical indicators? We know that unprotected pieces are one thing, but now, of course, most of you would say like, okay, queen d4 check is brilliant because the knight on b6 is unprotected. But when we speak about tactical indicators, first we should look for our own problems. Though this is a white's problem, but this is not a black's problem. So here, compare queen d4 check with queen c3. We can say the drawback of this move is that the queen and the rook are in one file. The plus might be that b6 is hanging, but as I said, we should pay attention to our own problems first. So this is a tactical indicator given as something which is in this position. The other move, queen c3 check, for example, king a3. Here we don't see any kind of tactical indicators arising which are relevant, because, well, the queen on c3 is as protected as on d4, so even on the diagonal there is no issue. The only drawback is that b6 is not hanging. Besides, it doesn't matter if queen d4 check or queen c3, the king always needs to go to a3, because b1 he cannot, as there is a check on d2. I will just show it. King c3, king c1 and mate on a1, or if the king goes to c1, it's checkmate immediately. Peter Sweetler, he chose the wrong move. Here, the move which was wrong in the game is queen d4 check, because it runs or it creates a tactical indicator which is actually not in our benefit at all, as the queen and the rook are in one file. King a3 was played, rook f8, and now how to exploit the fact that the queen on d4 has a lifetime job, because e5 is a mating square, and this allows the move rook d1. So basically, when a piece has a lifetime job, which means the piece protects something which, for example, is a mating square, then any kind of way to distract that piece is suddenly relevant, because it doesn't matter if I sacrifice a rook, a queen, or whatever. If the piece in charge needs to protect something so vulnerable like the pawn on e5, we don't care what we sacrifice if we mate at the end, right? So here rook d1 actually was the move which Peter Sweetler missed, and I guess he was in time trouble. The problem is that, okay, queen takes b6 never works, as there is a mate on e5, and the queen, in case the queen moves to c3, the problem is now that here is some overloading issue with rook takes d8, king takes d8, queen takes f8, followed by, I don't know, maybe check on a8. But in any case, here white is winning the game, because also f7 is falling. So it won't be a long process at all. So now let's just quickly see what happened in the game. So Peter Sweetler missed rook d1 as the move he played f6, rook takes d4, e takes d4. Now people can claim, okay, we have 2 rooks against the queen, but here's also some rule. If the king is very weak, and this is the case here because the king on e8 doesn't look brilliant, to be honest, then actually the material balance or imbalance is not so important. The first thing of evaluation a position is always the king's safety, and here the queen is stronger against the 2 rooks because the king is very weak. Polgar played bishop e6. Sweetler tried d3. I just show more moves. He took king b2, rook d4, knight c8, and okay, now there are some mating issues on e7, and actually already like after rook takes b4, king a1, Sweetler resigned because he couldn't protect the mate on e7. Going back, yes, queen d4 or queen c3. Queen c3 was the right move. Probably Peter didn't see the motive of rook d1 and thought with the queen on d4 he also attacked the knight on b6. That must have been the issue, or I guess it was. Here queen c3 check, king a3 as the only option, rook f8, and actually Black is a whole rook up, and of course also has a totally winning position. Bad luck for Sweetler, but yes, sometimes chess can be a quite cruel game, especially when you do such a blunder of, well, a chance of 50%.